Today I'm going to talk about building intelligence app with Azure AI services. So it's not about AI, but more about integration, just to keep in mind. Yeah, introduction about myself. Poojith, working in HSO as an Azure architect for last 6 years. Before that, I worked in Avanade and Capgemini, mainly in SharePoint and cloud domain. I write blogs about Azure integration and Azure AI. The blog is called azureintegrations.com. And also on a personal project, I'm working on a website called snappysnack.com, where I use AI for kids development. As I said, I'm not an AI expert. I focus more on integration. Yeah, agenda for today. So today we start with short introduction into RAG and how can we build a intelligent app using RAG, and what are the security and cost consideration when you are building an intelligent AI app, and what are the use cases, and summarize with my experience. RAG, I think it's a buzzword everybody knows. Anybody used RAG in work? Okay, at least one, good. RAG stands for Retrieval and Augmented Generation. But in simplicity, it's nothing but a smart solution. When you ask a question, it looks for information which is present within your company or your own personal information before it actually gives you an answer. Consider something like this, ChatGPT. You ask a question, it gives you an answer, right? But where does that answer come from? From the public domain. The data is actually in internet. Now, when you're building RAG, the data is your own data. So when you ask a question, the answer is coming from your own data, and it's well structured, but the answer always comes from data you feed into your AI solution. Think of it something like this. You ask a friend, have you ever heard about Microsoft integration user group? If he knows that, he immediately tells you, okay, this user group does a lot of cool stuff, also presents about integration. If he doesn't know, then he goes to the website, he finds the information, or asks his colleague, and then gives you an answer back. That's exactly what a RAG is doing. So there are 3 steps in RAG. First, it will retrieve the information. And where does that information come from? Your own information, your company data, or information you feed into for this application. Then it takes that information and augments your large language model with that information. And then, based on that question, it will generate an answer for you. So that's mainly what RAG does. Let's do a quick demo to make sure you understand. So this is a RAG solution. This is a Kickstarter from Microsoft. I've spent a lot of time on making this solution. So what it does. Now let's consider you are working in an organization and there are a lot of documents about HR departments spread across in various sites. Now you want to find out information about, let's say, leasing a car, or you want to find information about taking a long leave, or Papa Da, for example. You want to, but if you want to find that information, you need to go look in different places. So what is this solution trying to do? You bring in all your HR related documents and let's say upload it in one place, and based on that, it will index that information. Now you can ask questions about all these documents you fed here. So let's give it a go. Okay, I joined the company and I want to lease a car. What is the process? I'm asking the AI solution to give me an answer. So then what is it actually doing? It is looking for information related to car. First, it will go take this question and it will ask based on this question to a data source. In our case, yeah, we have a couple of documents which is indexed and it gives me an answer. Then we take that answer, send it to large language model, say that, okay, I got 3 documents, use this information as the source for answering your question. So I send that to large language model and also send the question, and the LLM gives me back a very friendly, very well structured answer. This is exactly what RAG is doing, nothing more than that. Now, yeah, it also shows how the thought process is and what are the documents it's actually using it to get this answer. And these documents are nothing but, yeah, which I have uploaded. Now, this, yeah, works well and good. Now, it also gives me a follow-up question based on what I have received as an answer set. Okay, now this information, if you look at it, it's all written in Dutch. I asked the question in English, I got the answer back in English. Now let me try to ask the same question in Dutch. I think, yeah. Let's try my broken Dutch. Luckily, yeah, AI is smarter than me, so it's going to fix that for me. So now, if you look at it, it's I asked the question in Dutch, and then the response also comes back in Dutch. So what is it actually happening? So even though the data is indexed in English, first when I ask the question, it goes back to my backend and it actually detects, okay, which language it is. In this case, it's Dutch, and then it translates to the whichever language we are using as the base language, and then ask the question, get the data, then sends it to LLM, and then LLM gives me back the answer and gets translated and sends back to the user. So in the end, you have one document written either in English or Dutch, but you can ask questions in any language and the response comes back in the language you asked the question. Let's try even a completely different language. I think Spanish may be better. I don't know whether it's correct, but no, it does exactly the same thing. Language detection, query the data, gets the response from LLM and gets translated to the user, the question you asked, the language you asked, and then sends it to the user. So this is what RAG is providing you with. So now you don't have to sit and start creating all these documents in various languages. You just create one base language document, and users can now easily ask in their own languages questions and get the response in their own languages. So this is, opens up a lot of opportunities. Now a next use case would be, something integration focused. Let's say you want to have a chatbot which finds out what happened to your integration. Let's say you built an integration, you log all the data into log analytics, and now you want to index that log analytics data so that anybody, not just a first line support, even end user can ask, okay, what happened to my data? Where did it get lost in the integration landscape? Needs a different index, so I'm going to change that. I fed all my failure related to account integration. So I'm asking the question, why account integration? Now it does the exactly same thing, but now it's looking at a different index, because you want index to be clean, not mixed up with diverse data. So now it says that, okay, my account integration is failing because if country field in an address, for example, is not filled in correct. So this is not something as an integration engineer you can fix it, because this is purely data related error. The only way to fix this is for an end user who created that particular record. He needs to change the country of that record. If he is creating an account and he hasn't mentioned the country as Netherlands, the only way to fix that is fixing it on the source system. Now, okay, I saw that most of the issues are related to country field. Now I really want to find out which exact integration records are failing. List the business easy. So that's should ideally give me all the unique identifier for those records. Ideally. Okay, now reach the token limit. Start a new session. Okay, it says that failed. Okay, it's not working, so demo occurs, but the idea is that you can actually also query the data which is failed, so that not the first line support, even an end user can use this as a chat. So instead of like creating a ticket why my data is missing, they can actually start chatting against a support chat box and start getting the results. So this is what RAG would enable for you. Now, how does it all work in the end? So first step is always the data preparation step. To ask a question, you need information so that it can answer the questions based on those information. So first identify all the data you want to actually upload it into your AI solution. If it's a chatbot for support, then all the logs which generated every 15 minutes feeding into your index. If it's HR data, then it's more static data, then you take that data and upload it. Now, when you're uploading, let's say, something like an onboarding book, you're uploading into our application. Then in an onboarding book, you will have 20 topics written it down about leasing a car, pregnancy leave, taking a long vacation, overtime. But your questions will be only one topic, right? It will be either about, okay, how can I have book my overtime? Then it doesn't really make sense to upload the complete document into your knowledge base. Then what you want to do is split that document into smaller chunks and then feed that into your knowledge base. So it actually helps in two ways. One is that, if you take all the data from a document and send it to LLM, you're using more token. So the larger the document is, the more token you use, and the more money you pay to Microsoft. Microsoft may be happy, but we won't be happy, or our customers. So the aim is to divide into smaller chunks. By dividing into smaller chunks, you are also making answers more accurate. Now, You can, if you just use the smaller chunks as then it works well for a questions like which matches exactly what is there in a document. But people would ask questions very similar fashion, right? I asked how to lease an auto. I could also ask the same question, how to lease a car, or I can also ask, how to lease a vehicle. It's the same question, it's the same context, but in a textual manner it is different, but you want the answer to be what you actually meant. So what we are doing is taking that data, converting into something called vector model, then it can understand the similarity. So when you ask questions in 3 different ways, it can give you the same answer. So using embedding and converting into vectors, you are able to get the answers for similar questions. And you store that information in a vector database. In our use case, we use Azure Cognitive Search as the vector database. So their ends are data preparation. Now we have a knowledge base to which we can ask queries. Now when an end user asks a question, so it will search for that information from the vector database. Vector database gave, let's say, 3 chunks of paragraphs from your onboarding document, and we tell to LLM, okay, use this information to answer the queries what end user is going to ask. So that's all what we are doing. So we set the context. It's also called grounding, and based on that we ask the question and LLM gives you an answer back. And since we are using a language model, the answer is going to be more accurate and well structured. So this is in high level what RAG is doing. Any questions so far? Yeah.
You were talking about splitting up the documents into the
smaller chunks. Yeah.
Smaller chunks depending on the topics, but why would I do that myself? Can you do that?
Yes, I did show that in my demo. It's automatically done for you. You can build a solution to split it up. If I go back in here, my HSO personal handbook is divided automatically into smaller chunks. So it's one document, but in the end it's divided into single page. There are 3 ways to divide, but I used each page to be divided into one chunk. This you don't have to do it, you can automatically do it. There are 3 ways to download. One is like you can use semantics, saying that, okay, I want to divide each paragraph as smaller chunks, or size based, saying that, okay, I want 5,000 characters to be divided into smaller chunks, or you can say that as simple as each page becomes a smaller chunk. So you don't have to really do it manually, it can be automated. Any other questions? No, this I hope looks very familiar. This is how you would build a traditional application. So let's consider building a product search application. Then what you have a front end which is built using low code or high code solution. You have a middleware, in our case Azure Integration Service, and you have a data layer where the actual product information is stored. So user can query a product information, and then the request goes to your middleware, and then it fetches the data either from SQL or Cosmos DB and sends the information back and display. So this is how we have been building a traditional application. Now let's say we want to make it a little bit smarter, or call it an intelligent app, then we need to introduce an AI layer. So what it differs now. So before you would actually query the data from the backend data source. Instead of that, what we could do is index all the data on your backend and query against the index instead of directly querying the SQL. And how does that help building an application? Now, the front end can be a chat application. Now I can ask, give me a product which I'm going to use it in the garden, which has color of green and which can hold up to 30 liters. think about building this query in a traditional application. Those filters, then you need to build all these custom logic to get that data back in or have a logic in the front end. Now what we are doing is take that question, send it to your vector database, get that response, and then to OpenAI to format or structure the way you want it and send it back. So this way you can make an application which works in a natural language way. So you can ask anything on a chat basis and you're getting the response, what you want from AI layer. That's one aspect. Now you don't have to store the product information in various different languages. The product information can be in one language, let AI do the document translation and send the data back. So yeah, the complexity goes away from the application, and we trust or start building application where AI takes care of all that complicated and repetitive work of creating document translation. Going little bit on the technical side. So now we want to build an AI solution, but that solution should be scalable and secure, right? So the most of the case, let's say you upload a document into ChatGPT and say do an analysis, you are giving that data to OpenAI. So your data is being leaked in the public. So a lot of people take the code from your own code. It could even have secret you're putting into ChatGPT to ask questions. With that, you're also losing your IP. Your knowledge, you're being exposed to OpenAI. Your aim should be like not just the data, even the code you're writing being secured within your own network. So that's where you can even use a RAG solution here. So what we are saying, okay, secure your data as much as possible within a zero trust deployment. So all the data, except SharePoint Online, of course, being actually put in within a VNet. And you are going to index that data using cognitive search. And if you want to, like, let's say, extract data from an image or a PDF, then you would use a service like Azure Document Intelligence. Then you use a orchestrator. So first you get the query, you query the data using Azure Cognitive Search. There's nothing but API integration. You function up calling an API. Then you get the response back. Then you take that information, call another API, in this case OpenAI, and get the response back, and then send it back to a front-end application. So if I look at it, I am not an AI expert, but in the end, this is nothing but a integration solution, integrating with AI services. Of course, I need to know basics of how cognitive search and OpenAI or document intelligence work. But in the end, to build a technical solution, it's nothing but an API integration. Of course, now we want the data to be as secure as possible. So all the API you expose using API management. If you want to even more, make it more secure, introduce a web application firewall. And all the requests, now your APM or an application gateway being on the boundary, all other data is purely secured within your network with a zero trust deployment. And then build a fancy front end, either using a low-code solution or Blazor, and then users can integrate with these apps. Any question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
The function.
Yes.
What's the purpose of the function?
So it does the orchestration. So let's say I get the question, user query. So first I will query the Azure Cognitive Search. And then I get the response back. And then in the response, I have the data. And with that data, I am going to do something called grounding. I'm telling OpenAI, okay, this is my data based on which you give me the response. So structuring of that data, it doesn't have to be function app. It can be any orchestration service being used to ground the data and send the response back.
And why not put the function between the web app and API management, so you can front API
here itself.
Yeah, because then you can, for example, monetize the OpenAI part and the cognitive search part as well. like I'm wearing the shirt, right? API management loves OpenAI. In this case, you can leverage, I think, also the Gen AI gateway capabilities within API management, doing also load balancing, doing also like priority-based load balancing on OpenAI, where you can have maybe multiple requests coming in, and when, for example, an OpenAI is being like a token limit, then it can just go to another endpoint. This is a little bit harder to do from an Azure function, but if you put the Azure function in front of API management and just expose the API, because they're all APIs, right? So that's totally true. But you can use API management for that as well.
Two reasons I would use this approach. One is, do you want to focus on the token limit, or I want to block a user who's going to send 20, let's say 500 requests. I don't want him to then again keep on sending the request more. Then I want to block a session based, which I can implement in API management. So I'm not talking about the token limit of the OpenAI, but a abusive user randomly sending questions so that he can have fun. But that is something I don't want to pay for it. So that's where I would prefer API management. But also for me, API management is my gateway to my data. So the front end, to interact with the backend, I want a gateway where I want to apply more policies. So if you say that, okay, let Azure function reach out directly to cognitive search, but then that's not something, I'm blocking it, right? So with API management, I can apply additional policies. That functionality I'm losing by keeping the function up in front of API.
Yes, but you're missing now also the policies that are in the Gen AI gateway that are already natively created for OpenAI.
Okay.
So you're missing the load balancing, your priority load balancing is just one of them. But you have like token rate limiting, finding metrics on OpenAI, like how it's being used. So you can leverage this already from policies within API management. Like providing basically an AI gateway functionality within API management. So I think it would be a shame not to utilize that part. But I get the setup that you have. Although I would maybe put it in between, because it's more related to the business logic in this case. The Azure function, I will put it more as a front end, back end, and an API management as your API management layer, exposing the APIs as is from the backend. But
you can combine it if you want.
Combine it. Yeah.
And you can go back. So
you can also combine
it's
it.
It's not wise to put the function just after the public network for quite obvious reasons of DDoSing and such. So you want it after the gateway, but you can tell your function go to OpenAI over the application gateway. Then you still have your metrics. But it's still
but then you need to collect your metrics from your Azure function. And what I'm basically saying is that you can already set up your dimensions on the metrics already in API management with a specific policy created for OpenAI specifically. So this is like a motion we started like 1.5 years ago, where we introduced this functionality within API management because we saw a lot of people wanting to utilize OpenAI better, but for example, OpenAI uses a key, like an API key, right? You don't want to distribute that API key to everybody. So that's also a benefit of putting API management in front of there, because you can use managed identity and you can give out your keys from API management to other consumers. And we build I think it's around about 8 or 9 policies that are mostly focusing on scenarios of utilizing OpenAI as an AI gateway functionality, where I think it would be much better fit having that function out of it. You can also put the VNet integration between API management and OpenAI also on a secure level. So leveraging, for example, private endpoints. I would go that route, but I don't want to hold you up. So please continue.
Another question. So why not I use APIM as a proxy here, and then this function app calls OpenAI via APIM then yeah, for me, my boundaries are
Okay.
intact.
Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
No, is that something like then you have
We can discuss
Best
over it
of both
afterwards. Like we're gonna have a beer.
We have plenty.
Okay. Then moving on to security. So we want the data to be as much secure as possible. The whole idea of having RAG on an enterprise scale is that you don't want to expose the data. So one is with the network isolation, you are keeping the data within your perimeter, and using RBAC, you can make sure that only the right person have access to the data. I'm gonna rush it a bit. And then also you want to make sure that the data is not leaked. So if you're using sensitive data, like I built a application where you can query against a CV, then you don't really want to put the name of a person in the CV, give a unique identifier, then you're actually anonymizing the data. That way you're not exposing the data with a personal identifier. Next is, all the APIs, which is exposed via APM, you want it to have a security like OAuth and also apply rate limiting so that people don't abuse your service, which would end up having a higher cost for you. One more additional thing, what you need to do is, I think most of the time it is taken by the AI layer, is the injection through prompting. So before we used to do injection detection for all the query parameters. Similarly, you also need to do that prompt filtering to make sure that you're not injecting any malicious code. Any questions on the security? Cost, I'm not looking into all the aspects of cost, but I'm just looking into the AI components, what I'm using. So if you're using Azure OpenAI, how does the cost? One is the tokens per. If you're using, I think it's wrong. Let's say you are using 1,000 tokens, you pay 0.02 cents. Now, if you're using a smaller language model like a mini, then you pay less. You can also now deploy DeepSeek in Azure Foundry, then it gets even cheaper. I think 1 million you pay much less money, and it does what it says. So Azure OpenAI cost depends on how much token you will use and what model you are using. And you will use cognitive search to index your data. So all the data you want to query against, you will actually use cognitive search. And cost depends on which tier you will use, basic or standard. And also how many questions are you asking against your cognitive search. So you pay for the number of transactions. Then you would also want to use document intelligence. Let's say you're uploading an image or a PDF, you want to extract those data. And if you're using standard, I think I didn't say this. If you're using standard document, standard model for 1,000 pages, you pay $10. And if you're using a custom fine-tuned model, you will pay $30 for 1,000 pages. And you could also use Redis Cache to reduce the number of calls you could make it to OpenAI or Cognitive Search. Let's say there are 10 employees asking the same questions, how to lease a car, then you don't need to send the same question to Cognitive Search or OpenAI. You pick the data from the Redis Cache and send the response back. So it improves the performance, also it reduces the cost. Use cases. At least what I use mainly is for enterprise knowledge management to use as an HR chatbot or a best practice chatbot. At least within HR, so we create a lot of best practices. We want developers to use those information while building a solution. So we can create a chatbot which can index the data and let developers use those information. Then customer support or troubleshooting. From a technical point of view, you can put all the log data into your index, and end user or first line support can find out what happened to the record in the integration landscape. Also, they can they can feed in your functional design and technical designs to find out, okay, what could have gone wrong. One of the use cases, we are trying to implement is legal and compliance. So there is a legal framework based on, let's say in Netherlands, there is a ruling for doing ISO 9001 certification. They have predefined set of rules and regulation you need to follow. So we can actually put this information into our knowledge base, and when we create a new report for a customer, we can check, okay, based on this report, tell me, am I missing anything? Am I overlooking anything for the report which I created for the customer? This is something what we are working on. And then also it can be used as a gap and a risk analyzer based on the knowledge base. To summarize, so RAG for me, it is it's an AI solution, but for me it is an integrating all the AI components to build a solution which works much smarter and reducing the high development time if you are to build all these complicated business logic. Let AI, if it can do it, let him do that work for you. It is highly, it makes sense to build enterprise knowledge management or a customer support based on RAG. Things to keep in mind, security and cost management. I'm running a solution which is costing almost 600 and 700 euros a month to have that RAG solution running. So it's not cheap. So something to keep in mind. And it's not just, RAG, you can, Azure Foundry provides a lot of models and capabilities. Also, Microsoft provides a lot of kickstart solutions. So you can just go into the AI hub and you can get started without knowing a lot, because they already done all that plumbing work for you. So just play around and get to know. That's all. Thank you.